Hey everyone, and welcome back to my craft room. Thanks for staying with us today. This is my January to June 2022 product launch, mini catalogue launch, and thanks for coming along. We've already had some live sessions this morning. This one's a pre-recorded video, just so we can get some different um, get a look at some different bundles and things today without being necessarily live. The bundle I'm doing it for our cards today. There's two bundles I'm doing. The first one is the Daffodil Daydream Bundle, which is the Daffodil Daydream stamp set and the daffodil dies. Really, really lovely, bright colours. You can the images are clear and pencil drawn images that you can colour in quite nicely, as you can see, with some nice bright daffodils. I'm sticking to yellow, but obviously the colours of the daffodils can be as varied as your imagination. It's a very nice little sentiments. It's obviously a Mother's Day stamp, Easter, probably more for the Northern Hemisphere where Easter is spring. But still, very, very nice with the little butterflies as well. The second bundle we're doing today is the Artfully Layered Bundle. So that's this one here. Very different in their two styles. This is very sort of almost old-fashioned conservative, and this one's much more stylized. So you'll see some contrast there, and the colours that it lends itself are very different as well. So we'll see some different sort of styles in this video. But we'll start with the Daffodil Daydream. And so I'll show you what we're actually going to make, and I've got most of it cut and done. I've realised I've only left myself probably an hour to do these two cards with you, so I've had to cut and prepare a lot of the elements, but don't worry, I will put the measurements, if they're not there already, they'll be up in group as soon as I can after we finish today's session with all the measurements and the products that I've used. So here's the front of this one. We've got both of those daffodil images. There's a main one here at the front with the other little one sneaking out to the side, and we've got some butterflies as well. And I've also used, just to give it a little bit of extra interest, I've used a couple of the daffodil leaves from the die set as well. They're just a plain cardstock. This one opens up. It's got a little bit of a surprise. It's actually an easel card, you can see there. But then it's got it's a double easel. So it's got this little easel in the front that actually sort of has sort of the sentiment on it, but that gives it that sort of double sort of easel, extra 3D sort of appeal, which is really, really nice. The card I'm doing with you today, I should learn my lesson, but I've actually changed it very slightly from here just because I felt this one was a little bit unbalanced, but I've changed it slightly. But basically it's the same. It's just the measurements of a couple of the pieces that are slightly different in the one that I'm going to show you and the one that I'll put on the website. Okay, so let's get started. So as I said, we've got the Daffodil Daydream Bundle. And so we're starting with a basic white thick card base. Now this basic white thick card base is 4 inches wide, I remember that, and 9.5 inches long. And it's been scored at 4 3/4 and whatever half of that is, 2 3/8, I think it is, something like that. And so that forms, as you can see there, that forms the basis of our big easel. And so to complement that, I've got some designer series paper. Now I wanted to wait until I got my hands on the delayed daffodil afternoon designer series paper. But obviously I couldn't get that in time to record these videos today. So I have stuck to an old favourite, which is the Hand Penned designer series paper from the annual catalogue. So it's got some lovely sunny Daffodil Delight images on one side and some lovely flowers with just about all the colours of the rainbow on the other. So we're going to be using both of those sides. I've got a Daffodil Delight panel that I've cut out using the contoured, and I've got it here so I know exactly which one it is, the scalloped contour dies. So that's the largest one of that. As you can see, it's got a lovely scalloped edge there, which is sort of really nice and delicate. Got a couple of panels of the designer series paper. We're going to use both of those, and some other panels. Is another panel of Daffodil Delight that's going to pop down there. So as I say, don't worry too much about the measurements because I will pop those all in group if, as I say, if not there already, but soon will be. So I'm going to just make the original, the big easel first, just by layering up. And that glue has decided to get clogged, so I'll swap to another one. It's very, very warm in the craft room today, well, for Tassie, and everything seems to be either drying out or clogging up. So this one's a new glue, so we shouldn't have any issues. So I'm going to pop a panel of Daffodil Delight on the bottom, and I've left a larger than normal border there. That's a 1/4 inch border, bigger than my usual 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to bring in the patterned paper, so I'm going to have to make sure I get the right one. Yes, so that's the right one. This one I'm going to leave up with the beautiful flowers showing outwards. So I'll just pop the glue on the yellow, and we're going to pop that. That's it, as easy as it can be, just like that. Okay, so then we're going to do the front facing part of our main, what we're calling this, easel card. And I've got my Daffodil Delight scalloped contoured panel, and this time I'm going to use the bright sunny yellow face up. So this panel has been cut, this mat of Designer Series paper has been cut to fit pretty much perfectly in the middle of that scalloped panel. And as I say, don't worry about the measurements at this stage. I'll pop them up a bit later on. I'll just centre that there. It's not quite centred, but I will move it with our wonderful glue that gives me a bit of wriggle room. There we are. That's probably pretty much in the middle there. Okay, so that's the panel of the front-facing panel of our easel. So we can decorate this now. So what you need from the stamp set to decorate this one is you need an image, one of these, stamped in black and die cut. You need one of these stamped in black and die cut, the single one, and you need 6 little butterflies. So that's basically what you need to stamp and die cut, and then we'll colour them. And so I've coloured some, and I'll yet to colour a couple more so we can see. I'm going to hopefully do that, and hopefully all my butterflies will fall out. Oh, and there are the 2 pear pizzazz. They're in little leaves that I've cut out as well. There's one more little butterfly there. It should be 6 there now, hopefully. Where are you guys? Oh no, there's one more. Come on, flitter out of there. Oh, everything's coming. There's my ribbon. Thankfully, you can see I've tied my ribbon in a bow, so you don't have to watch me do that, which can be excruciating sometimes. So what have we got? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little butterflies. One that I still need to colour. This is the big main daffodil image there. I've already coloured that. And this is another daffodil that I've yet to colour. So I'll just colour those for you and show you the colours that I've used. Okay, so where did I put those? Oh, I put them all over there. Working in a new environment, as many of you know, I'm working in a different room, and I'm still getting used to where all the tables and things are and where I can put things. Okay, so let's start with this daffodil here. So I've got my dark Daffodil Delight, obviously, and I'm going to just pop that into sort of the shadowy areas on this big daffodil here. So, inside the cup, I suppose you'd call it, the darker part where the leaves would be in shadow, down by the base, the petals would be in shadow, and inside as well. So that's basically there. Then I'll bring in my light Daffodil Delight, and I'm just going to use that to blend in, take it right to the edges and blend in with little circular movements so that there's not a big strong line between the light and the dark. And our blends are wonderful for that. If you haven't got them, please consider grabbing the blends. perfect for this sort of hand colouring. Okay, so there's my daffodil. So the leaves themselves are going to be a combination, same sort of combination of light and dark. I'm using dark old olive in the sort of areas that would be in shade, sort of hard up under the flower and in the darker part of the stem. Again here. And then with my light old olive, I'll come in and blend that off. And then I have just one little butterfly to do. I haven't got too carried away with blending the butterfly. There's not much to him to really worry about. Itchy nose. Oh, here we are. So that's the daffodil done. And there's one little butterfly here left to do, and he is a combination of dark pale papaya in his little centre parts and flirty flamingo on the outer parts. This is dark flirty flamingo, yes. So as I say, just sweet little pastel colours. Nothing too serious about him. So there we are. So that's all our die cuts and coloured pieces that we need. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I'll just bring that. We'll bring you back in our little our easel. What we're going to do is organise the two leaves, the two die cut pear pizzazz leaves on the card like this. Probably just cross them over a little bit. And so they're just sort of forming a background, a sort of higher bit of height to the whole look. I'll just pop a wee bit of glue on the back of those. Okay. And oh, little butterfly attached to me there. And just the second one. And I'll bring that in over here. Okay. I need a new, even my little wet wipes are drying out very quickly as well. Okay, so that's just the basis there. And what I'm going to do is bring in this little larger single bloom, and he's just going to sit off to the side there. And then the other one is going to sit just slightly over the top, just like that. Piece of fluff there. And so they're going to just sit like that. Oh, stuck to my gluey fingers. Okay, so yeah, they're both sitting just like that. And I'm going to glue them. I'm not putting any dimension in this one. This card folds quite thickly. If you can imagine, you've got two easel cards to fit in the envelope, so it doesn't really need a lot more height, really. And that one, just like that. Okay, you can position those any way you like, just so it looks like a little sort of bouquet of daffodils there, just like that. Okay. Right, so now we're going to bring in our little butterflies. Just going to pop those around, just like they're flitting flitting and fluttering around. I'll put one up here. I am going to put one of them on a dimensional just to make it stand out a wee bit. One little guy there. And one little guy, just grabbing a dimensional if I've got one. Just need a little one. There they are. Just a single dimensional just in the centre of his body. And he can sit sort of around there. You don't want things too low on this card because you are going to have the little second easel. So you're too low and you're going to miss out. So I may have to move him up a wee bit once we see the card together. But that's as much as I'm going to do at the moment. I'll add the ribbon and the bling once we've got the card assembled. What we're going to do now is bring back our card base, and I'm going to pop that sort of contoured scalloped panel decorated, attach it to the sort of the bottom half of that little of the easel. So just on this frontward facing panel here. So just add some glue and then pop that on there. So line it up so that you just see a tiny bit of white through those little holes, and that's all. And that's just got glue, as I say, on the bottom half like that. So we don't want it any further up, or your card's not going to sit open properly. Okay, so that's pretty much an ordinary easel card from there. Basically, we would give it a little foot there and then that would be done and dusted. But we're going to do a little bit extra with this one. Okay, so we'll pop that aside and we'll make up our tiny little baby easel, which is quite cute. Same sort of components, nothing much different really, but on a smaller scale. So we've got this one, this panel is 5 inches long and 2 1/8 wide, and I've scored it at 1 1/2 and 1 1/4, and probably from that way, 1 1/4 and 2 1/2. So it's a little Z there. Okay, so and then we've got some more Daffodil Delight, which I'm going to do basically exactly the same as we did with the first one. Popping that little panel there. And this piece of designer series paper, yellow facing up. There we are. And this one has another piece of paper, designer series paper there. This one is a little bit short. You know how I hate waste. This was a little piece I had left over, and it was either use this or cut a whole new sheet, and I just wanted to have that bottom half covered anyway. So if I'd had another spare piece that was slightly bigger, I would have covered that whole section, but because it was either that or waste it, I decided to cut it just a little bit short. You won't see it once it's closed like that. You won't see that it comes up a bit short. So we're going to add our little easel to the back part, same as we did with our first big easel. Just like that. Oh, wrong way up, Julianne. Oh dear. It was nearly a disaster. Imagine you guys were going, stop, stop. That's the way it goes. That's okay. I got it before it stuck. So there's a little baby easel there. So I do have a Stitched So Sweetly sentiment box, or I did. Maybe it fell out when I got everything else out. Where are you, sentiment box? There's my bling. Where did it go? I might have to cut another one if I can't find it. There's my butterflies. 1, 2, 3 butterflies. fall on the floor? No. Oh, here it is. The dog's decided she wants to come in. Okay, so this is a Stitched So Sweetly sentiment box, and I'm going to make this a Mother's Day card. So I'll use the Happy Mother's Day from the stamp set. Pop it on a little block, and I'm just going to use black. Just on there. This one fits pretty much perfectly our cute little Stitched So Sweetly box, sentiment box, just like that. Okay, so that's going to pop on the front facing face of our small easel, just like that. And I'm going to pop a little couple of butterflies around that. Just checking my original so I make sure I do it right. I'm going to pop one little butterfly up here. Just pop a little bit of glue there, and the other one down there. I don't want to cover over my sentiment too much, so just be a little careful there. Isn't that sweet? Okay, so this little card is going to need its own little, this one does need a foot stop. So I'm going to use the 6th little butterfly. I'm going to pop him on a couple of dimensionals. Just mini ones because it's pretty tiny. And I'm going to use that as the foot stop for this little card. Just like that. So he's going to sit up like that. You can see that there. Okay, so this little card is actually going to be the foot stop for the bigger card. So it's like Russian dolls, isn't it? The foot stop of the foot stop of the foot stop. So I've got to work out how far back I want this to, how high I want it to sit. So I want it to sit quite high so I can see all of my beautiful butterflies and daffodils in the background there. So I'm going to, I want them both to be roughly the same sort of angle as each other. Oh, it came off on my finger. It'll come off on my finger. Okay, so I want that quite high. So I'm going to pop it right back sort of there. So they're both nice and high. I'll just put some glue on the bottom of this little one. And guesstimate where I was. I think I was about there. Fiddle it till it's straight and central. There we are. It's about right. There we are. Okay, so that little one sits up like that. The one at the back is going to sit up like that. Now, if your easel does this and it just falls backwards, you probably need to burnish. Well, I'm going to need to burnish that angle there so that it sits more flatly. So I probably should have done that before I decorated it, but you can do it at any stage. So just make sure that one is nice and sharp so that when it comes to standing up, it fits the right, it sort of snaps into place nicely. So there we are. Okay, so that's nice. I do actually prefer that to the other one I made. The proportions were slightly wrong, and that's slightly skew with, and it's too late to change it. Okay, so there we are. So that's our Mother's Day double easel card with the Daffodil Daydream stamp set. Oh, and I forgot my ribbon and my bling. Okay, so let's pop the ribbon. I did make the ribbon up so you wouldn't have to traumatise it watching me do a ribbon. Here it is. So let's guesstimate where that ribbon will be so that I can still, so I do actually see it. So I don't want it too low, but I want it sort of probably just under that lower just about on the same level as our little butterfly. So I'll grab a ink dot, glue dot. It's a bit of a balancing act with these videos. I want everything at hand, but I don't want it all so close that I can't see what I'm doing. So I do have to reach sometimes for things a little bit still, packed away in their spots. So I'm just going to pop this little guy just there like that. Just a little bit of, that's the pale papaya ribbon, that one. It's really lovely and it goes nice with the yellow and the pale papaya in the actual little butterflies as well. So that's cool. That little butterfly, I mentioned that I might have to move him up a tad, and I will, because he's just a little bit low with that ribbon. So I'll just carefully pry that dimensional off. If I'm very careful, it should be okay. Yep, that's okay. And I'll just bring him up a tiny bit. Might give him a couple more dimensionals. I probably shouldn't have added him until I knew where I actually wanted him, but I got a bit excited. I'll give him another couple of dimensionals on his wings and bring him up to about there where he'll be seen. That's nice. Okay, so we've got our ribbon, we've got our little butterflies. We're going to do some bling. Now on the original I've used the pale papaya in colour gems, but with the delays in the deliveries, I've run out. But I think the soft saffron ones will be just as nice. So I'm going to use those. I think they will go nicely with the green of the leaves. And it'll probably stand out a little bit more too, which is good. So I'll pop some ones on there, and I'll pop another couple on, because we've got to have 5 or even numbers or odd numbers. I'll pop another couple down here. Could have used basic gems or iridescent gems, which I'll use, which we will have used today as well, but we just got to give those a bit of a go. Okay, so there we are. That is actually finished now. So that's our double easel Mother's Day card using the butterfly dandelion Daffodil Daydream Bundle. There you go, so double, and that's really, really nice. Hopefully you like that one. Okay, so half an hour, we're going well. So we'll pop that one aside and go on to the next one. As I said, the next one uses the Artistically Layered Bundle. I might just clean up a little bit so I don't have so much stuff around. I don't want that anymore. Let's just get rid of what we don't need. Be much better in the long term. There we are. Okay, so what's left there? Don't need that. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, so the Artistically Layered stamp set, as I said, is quite different style. Again, it comes with dies to make the bundle. Buy the bundle and get 10% off. That's always a good deal. What we're making today is what I've seen called a barn door fold. You know how you see those old barns where they only open up, like the bottom half opens up and the top half is like a window. The top and bottom, what am I trying to say? The top and bottom sort of open separately. That's what I'm trying to say. So this is what here's all my bits and pieces. This is what I would call a barn door fold, just like that, because we've got just the card at the bottom there, and the rest of it, which is a good angle to look at it actually, the rest of it sort of is above there, sort of suspended like magic. So this is what my first version. I'm going to make this, the one I make together with you is going to be slightly different, but it's going to follow this same sort of design. I'm changing out some of the colours and making it slightly less busy, but it'll be basically like this. Let's have a go. Okay, so you start with a normal size card base here. It sounds surprising, I know. A normal 5 3/4 by what was it, 5 3/4 by 8 1/4, and you score it at 4 1/8. And then you basically just cut out. This is like a perfect quarter of the card. So you, on your score line, you cut down 2 7/8. Yes, so down 2 7/8, you basically cut down there and then just straight out to the edge of the card. So you end up with a sort of an L-shaped card, and that's what makes our barn door. And then the matching pieces of cardstock you've got, I've got a piece of Just Jade cardstock there, which is 1/4 of an inch smaller, so that's 3 7/8 by 5 1/2. And then a slightly smaller again piece of basic white, just to sit there like that. As I say, don't worry too much about the measurements. I'll pop them up in the group either today or very soon. So we're going to might put all those up. So we've got our Just Jade layer. So this is all on the back of the card, or the inside, what traditionally would be the inside, but I suppose because this card's got such a large cutout, the inside is actually the outside in a lot of ways. Sticky fingers. And then we'll pop the basic white layer on top. Okay. Just like that. And if we lost our focus a little bit, just so I'll sit still for a second till we get our focus back. Seems to be happening a bit in this new room. The camera might be struggling with the light levels. Oh, golly me, that's not coming back at all, is it? Or it might just be my eyes. No. Come on, focus. That's better. Just needed to take its gaze away. Okay, so there we've got our 2 panels there. So what we're going to do is something very similar on the front gate. So we've got a smaller piece of Just Jade. And then I've got a piece of the Artistically Layered Designer Series paper. Now, the good thing, as you know, with Stampin' Up! Designer Series paper is that it tells you pretty much what colours you need to use. So I'm going to use this colour here. So it's got the Just Jade, Evening Evergreen, Pear Pizzazz, and in the background is a very pale Calypso Coral. So that's basically the colours that we're going to use in the rest of our cards. We've already got our Just Jade happening. So I'll pop this piece of Designer Series paper here. So that's our barn gate happening there. So now we just need to decorate it. So the piece of paper piece of cardstock that I took out of that top part is basically this little piece here. So you could leave it the same size. You could leave it the same size as you took out, but I've popped it through, I think it's about the 3rd largest, just the biggest stitched rectangle that I could get it to fit is what I've done. So there was basically just a tiny bit that came off the edges. So I just like that because I just like that sort of stitched look. So that one's going to start it off like that, but it's going to be flipped around and it's going to sit like that. Then I've got another piece of Just Jade, and I've popped that through the next size down stitched rectangle, and that's just going to sit just in the middle of our little white rectangle, just like that. So I might pop those on now, and then I'll show you all the things we're going to bring in, all the beautiful layers we're going to use to decorate it from the stamp set and the dies. Okay, so that's that there. So this little piece here is going to we center it so that it's the same top, bottom and sides, but we just glue it, obviously, just glue it to the bottom sort of 1/3 or half So I'm just going to add glue to the bottom wee bit, position it same sort of distance, top, bottom and sides, and then just firm that down. And that sort of gives our card that sort of magic, something magically suspended in air like that. Okay, so now we have various bits and bobs from the die set. So this is where the stamping comes in. So I've stamped this large, beautiful sort of fern frond in Just Jade ink, and I've die cut it. So that's that one there. Okay. Then from the die set, there's some lovely sort of, again, sort of skeletal fronds. I've got one there in Pear Pizzazz, and I've got one in Evening Evergreen. So as I say, we're going to stick to the colours that the set, that the designer series paper tells us to use. I've got another one there, that's in Calypso Coral. That's another one of those fronds. And I've got two, and I'm yet to decide which one to use, to be honest, so I cut both. I've got some sort of monstera leaves, I suppose. It'd be sort of big old palm tree leaves, one in Calypso Coral and one in Evening Evergreen. And I'm going to decide which one to use as we go. And I've got, another bit of sort of palm in vellum. That's just in plain old A4 vellum cardstock. So I'm going to use that as well. So I'm terrible habit, as you guys know who watch me regularly, a terrible habit of overdoing things and going that little bit too far. So I'm going to just pop these in and around and hopefully not do too much. I'm definitely going to use my die cut stamped leaves. I'm definitely going to use my vellum just to soften that out a little bit. And I really do like the Pear Pizzazz, so I might bring that one in. And then I think I also like the Evening Evergreen, so I think I'm going to bring that one in as well. So you can see why this is called the Artistically Layered, because you can just layer this as much as you want until you're a bit like me and you go a little bit too far. So I've got this is from the Tasteful Textiles, she says, not remembering, Tasteful Labels dies. It goes with the Tasteful Textiles stamp set. And that's just a little sentiment box there that I'm going to sort of pop in there and sort of cover up the whole messiness of the stalks and things. And at this stage, I'm trying to work out which leaf I'm going to use. So I think I'm going to use this one, the Calypso Coral one. So I'm going to pop that there just to give it a bit of colour. Otherwise, it's all a bit same old, isn't it, with the greens? So we need a bit of pop. So I'm going to use that one. Okay, so we can layer these guys up now. So starting with our big, beautiful leaf, Just Jade leaf. I'm going to, as I say, pop that towards the top. So it's going to be over the top of our triangle, rectangle there, sort of suspended a wee bit. Then I'll bring in my vellum. Now I wouldn't usually use glue to stick vellum, but I am this time because we're going to be covering it over, so it won't matter too much if you see the glue, because we'll be covering it. So I'll pop that there. So that just softens the Just Jade a wee bit, just so it's not as stark. Okay, so then we'll bring in our other little fronds. Now I'm just going to add glue because they're so fine, and I want them to sort of be natural looking, like just leaves just lying around. So I'm just going to add glue to their little stems, little stalks. I'm going to have him going over that way. And again, he's overlapping the central rectangle just to give it that sort of suspended in air look. And then I'll bring in our Evening Evergreen one. And he'll come the other way. So he's going the other way. to the left. Just pat these down just so that they stick to the card and not to me, which is what they're doing at the moment. There we are. How's that? That's like you can imagine sort of picking your way through the jungle, going through the undergrowth like that. It's pretty heavy stuff. Anyway, so we'll cover that with the messiness with our sentiment box, and then we'll bring in our little monstera leaf down there just off the edge. So the reason I've had a look at that now is because our sentiment's got to go off to the left-hand side so it doesn't get too covered over by our palm leaf or our monstera leaf. I think we had a talk on a previous video about what that would actually be called. Before we actually go any further with that sentiment box, I'm going to use another one of the stamps from the stamp set. This sort of one here, it looks like it's sort of just plain writing. You can't actually read it. It looks like Latin or something. But it's just a really pale sort of words, indeterminate words. I've got some grey granite here. So I'm going to just give this little sentiment box just a little bit. I'm going to sneeze. Oh, forgive me. Sorry about that. I'm going to give the sentiment box just a few sort of very faint, sort of stamped off probably, yeah, just the third go. So 1, 2, and then into there. And then the same 1, 2, and then into there. So it's just very pale, but it just takes that starkness, just adds a bit of interest to our sentiment box. Let me get rid of the ink off that. So our sentiment I'm going to use has to be, as I say, over hard towards the left-hand side. I'm going to use our Evening Evergreen. That's sort of our strongest colour that we've used. I'm just going to say, hey there. Could be just about anything. So hey there. And again, just make sure that stamp's okay. Yep. Bringing it right over to the left-hand side. No, it's not exactly central, is it? I wonder if I could turn it over and do it again. No, I'll leave it. That's okay. So when you do yours, hopefully yours will be straighter and more central than that. But that's okay. So I'm going to pop that on there now. I'm going to use just glue. I did use dimensionals with the other one, the first one I did, but I wasn't happy with it because this sort of was a bit hard to suspend in the middle of the air. So I'm just going to glue that down. Just so it's at the bottom there, just at the very top of our barn door. There we are. Covers, as I say, covering over those little untidy stalks. And then our other little monstera leaf is going to pop there. So again, just bits of glue, just move that out of the way. Just bits of glue, just where there's a bit of cardstock. There's not a lot of cardstock to work with because it's so fine. Just so you've got it pretty much covered in the main parts, and then bring that in there. There we are. Isn't that nice? There we go. Okay, so the other one that I cut, the other monstera leaf that I cut and didn't use, I'm going to pop that on the inside. Just so you know I use it. I don't like not using things. Oh, too much glue there. And since I've determined no nudie cards, we'll pop this on the inside. Go that way. So we are going to see that, or part of that, when we close the card, but I think that's fine. You can see that just behind there. It just adds a bit of interest to behind the card, behind our little triangle there, our rectangle there. Okay, so that's done. You could put happy birthday. What's the other ones we've got in the stamp set? Hey there. Sending all the hugs. Let's do, oh, happiest birthday wish. Let's do happiest birthday wish. There we go. We'll pop that inside. And, oh, some bling. I've got the bling here. So the bling that comes with the bundle, or the suite, really sweet. They look like, I think I've mentioned them before, they look like pieces of glass that have been sort of worn away by the ocean. So they've been in the ocean for a long time, you know, probably, I don't know, from a bottle or something that's been discarded, and they, over the decades, it wears it away, the waves. So you've got these cute little, sort of seemingly random, they almost look, there's lots of different sizes and shapes, just little random pieces of glass. So they've got pear pizzazz is the middle one. I think that's just jade, that end, and then we've got just plain white ones at this end. So it looks like, yes, as I say, they look sort of randomly shaped, like they were just washed up on the beach after decades of being washed around in the water. So I'm going to just pop a few of them in. Might use the white ones because I've got some dark colours there. I'm just going to pop those around on the Just Jade, just as a bit of interest. They're not exactly blingy, they don't sort of sparkle, they're more sort of organic, I suppose, is what I'd call them. Seems to be my favourite word at the moment. There we are. So they just add a bit of interest to our card. You could always put the bling in there if you wanted something a bit shinier, but I think that's nice. So we've got hey there, happiest birthday wishes. And that is got all the layers happening there. That's pretty nice. Okay, so that's the second card for this particular session, this pre-recorded session. I hope you both liked both of those. As I say, very different and probably not to everyone's taste, but very, very modern, I'd say, very contemporary in its design, that one. Okay, so you've seen your Daffodil Daydream and you've seen your Artfully Layered. And I know we will be making, well, depends what order we do things in. We've probably already made the daffodil card. I think we probably made that this morning, or we make it this afternoon. Well, what have I decided? Yes, you're going to make your daffodil card this afternoon. So you've already seen the hand-coloured daffodils. I'm going to be using the die-cut daffodils later on in the final session. So thanks very much, and I will catch you all again next time.